Story 1. The gas station at exit 217. You ever find yourself driving down a deserted stretch of highway, the kind where your cell signal vanishes and there hasn't been a gas station for miles? Most people just keep driving, praying their tank holds out. But for Daniel and his girlfriend Kara, stopping at one particular roadside gas station became the biggest mistake of their lives. And the scariest part, if you take exit 217 off Route 9 in northern Arizona, that gas station is still there waiting. Daniel and Kara were college students, 2 months into a road trip to see the national parks. They'd planned the trip meticulously, from motel stops to scenic viewpoints, but this detour wasn't part of the itinerary. A blown tire. That's all it took to steer them off course. The sun had already begun its descent, dipping behind the jagged silhouettes of rocky desert hills. The two-lane highway was almost too quiet. No cars for miles, no buildings, just the occasional road sign covered in bullet holes. They'd been riding on a spare for 20 minutes when they saw the faded wooden board. Exit 217, fuel, food, repairs, 2 miles ahead. Finally, Daniel said, gripping the wheel with both hands. We can patch this thing up and get to Flagstaff before midnight. The road curved off the main highway like a spinal cord twisting into emptiness. Weeds cracked through the pavement, and the terrain seemed to shift as they drove. Flat land giving way to canyons and jagged boulders. Then up ahead, a gas station emerged like a mirage. It was an old-fashioned place, single pump, red neon sign that buzzed weakly with the word fuel. A dusty building with smeared windows, a vending machine outside, and what looked like a small garage tucked around the side. The whole place looked frozen in time, like it hadn't been updated since the 60s. Looks abandoned, Kara murmured. Better than nothing. They parked beside the pump. There was no card reader, just a slot for bills and a cracked plastic window where an attendant might appear. Daniel stepped out, scanned the area. No movement, no sound except the wind. A bell chimed faintly as Kara opened the convenience store door. Inside, the lights flickered on like they were startled awake. Rows of canned food, dusty soda bottles, racks of maps and postcards that hadn't been touched in years. A radio on the counter buzzed static, then suddenly played a warped country tune before fading out again. "Hello," she called. No answer. Daniel stepped inside behind her and rang the desk bell. Nothing. They were about to leave when a door behind the counter creaked open. Out stepped a man, maybe late 50s, maybe older. It was hard to tell. His skin was pale, stretched tight like he hadn't been in the sun in years. His eyes were gray, unfocused. And he didn't blink. Just smiled, too wide, too rehearsed. "Need a repair?" the man asked. Voice dry like rusted hinges. "Yeah, tire patch. Got a spare on, but it won't last." He nodded slowly. "Garage is out back. I'll take care of it. You folks help yourselves in here. First drinks on the house." The man turned and walked out, no further instructions. Daniel hesitated. "I'll go with him," he said, "just in case." Kara watched them disappear around the building. She shivered, rubbed her arms, and turned to grab a bottled water. The moment her hand touched the fridge handle, the lights cut out. Total darkness. Then from somewhere inside the store came the soft rustle of movement. She spun. "Hello?" Nothing. No footsteps. Just something breathing. The lights flickered back on. Everything looked the same, except for one thing. One of the vending machine glass panels had a handprint on it. Smudged, greasy, dragging downward like someone had been clawing to get out. She ran outside. Behind the building, Daniel was staring at something, frozen. The repair garage was open, but it wasn't a garage. Not really. Chains hung from the ceiling. Hooks. And against the far wall, a massive collage of photos, hundreds of them. All different people, different cars, and each photo was dated. A red X over every face. The last photo? It was of Daniel and Kara, taken from behind the counter. Dated that morning. "What the hell is this?" Daniel whispered. Then they heard it, the rasping voice again. But not from behind them. It came from inside the building walls. "She's watching." They turned and saw a second figure now stepping into view. A woman impossibly tall, with limbs too thin and a neck that bent slightly to one side like it had once been broken. Her eyes were pure black, and her mouth never moved when the voice came. "We feed her," the voice hissed. "We feed her with the lost." Daniel grabbed Kara's hand and ran. They didn't stop to check the car. They sprinted down the exit ramp, back toward the main road. Behind them, they could hear that same voice, repeating like a broken record. Exit 217. Exit 217. Exit 217. They found a service truck a mile later. The driver didn't believe their story, but he took them back to town. When they reported the gas station, the sheriff raised an eyebrow. "There is no exit 217, he said. "Haven't been any gas stations out there in 30 years. Still, he humored them and sent a deputy. They never found the gas station. But Daniel kept the photo, the one from the garage wall. He said it was proof. And every year on the same date, a new photo appears in his mailbox. Always with a red X. Always the same voice on a static recording tucked inside the envelope. Exit 217. Exit 217. So if you're ever driving alone and you see a sign for exit 217, no matter how low your gas tank is, no matter how desperate you feel, don't take it. There are places in this world that aren't meant to exist. Places that feed off the lost, the tired, and the forgotten. And the scariest part? They might not be abandoned. They might be waiting. If you are watching till now, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Story 2. The House Behind the Pines. There's something terrifying about isolation. The kind you find when you're miles from the nearest soul, when the trees seem to close in behind you, and the road disappears the moment you take a wrong turn. Sam and Eli were best friends on a hiking trip through rural Maine, searching for peace in nature. Instead, they found a house buried deep in the woods. One that shouldn't have been there. One that didn't want them to leave. The first 2 days of their hike had gone exactly as planned. Sam, a photojournalist, was capturing moss-covered trails, animal tracks, and breathtaking sunrises. Eli, who had just left his corporate job for good, was soaking in the silence like medicine. By the third day, they decided to take a new path, one not on the map. A narrow trail split off the main route, half covered in dead pine needles and branches. It wasn't marked. No footsteps, no signs. Just an old wooden arrow nailed to a tree pointing deeper into the forest. "We'll loop back," Eli said. "Worst case, we camp and retrace tomorrow." The forest grew darker as they walked, the tree canopy swallowing the sky. Time seemed to bend. What felt like an hour turned into 3. Their GPS lost signal. The air thickened, quieter than before, like even the animals had gone silent. Just when they considered turning back, the trees parted into a clearing. There it stood, an old colonial-style house, 2 stories tall, paint peeling, shutters hanging, and a single wooden rocking chair on the porch swaying though there was no wind. The house looked untouched by time. No trail, no path, no driveway, nothing that explained why it was there. Just a house, in the middle of nowhere. "Who builds a house out here?" Sam asked. "More like who still lives in one." They approached cautiously, calling out. No answer. The door was ajar. Sam raised his camera. "I gotta get a shot of this. It's like something out of a ghost story." He took a few photos, but when he checked the screen, the house didn't appear. Only forest. Trees. Mist. He blinked, took another. Still nothing. "We should go," Eli said, backing up. "This place is wrong." But then the door creaked open wider. Inside was normal, old but clean. There were doilies on tables, a teacup still steaming on the counter as if someone had just been there. A cuckoo clock ticked on the wall, exactly 5 minutes off the current time. "Hello," Sam called. Still nothing. Eli checked the stairs, narrow, leading upward into shadow. "I don't like this," he whispered. "It's like it's pretending to be a home." That's when the front door slammed shut behind them. They ran to it locked. Windows too. No matter how hard they pulled, it wouldn't budge. The temperature dropped fast, breath steaming. Then the cuckoo clock chimed, 6 slow, echoing notes. And everything changed. The house's lighting turned cold, bluish, like moonlight shining through water. The furniture warped slightly, too long in some places, too short in others. The hallway stretched farther than it had when they came in. Doors appeared where there were none. They tried the back door, gone. Only a hallway now, with dozens of mismatched doors on either side. "This can't be real," Eli muttered. Sam pulled out his phone. Still no service. But there was one thing, his photos were gone. All of them. Replaced by one image. A black and white photo of the house. And in the window, a figure standing behind the glass. Pale, watching. They picked a door at random, desperate for an escape. Inside, the room was filled with mirrors, hundreds from floor to ceiling. But none of them showed Sam and Eli. Instead, each mirror reflected a different scene. One showed Eli sleeping in his childhood bed. One showed Sam falling into a pit. One showed the two of them walking into the house over and over. And then, in the mirrors, the figure appeared. Thin, smiling, wearing their faces like masks. They backed out, slamming the door shut. The house groaned. The floorboards shifted beneath their feet, trying to steer them toward a stairwell that hadn't been there before. The stairs led downward, not up, into a basement that reeked of wet soil and old wood. As they descended, the lights dimmed. Faint whispers echoed through the walls. "You came," they said. "You came back." Sam stopped. "What do you mean, back?" The whispers didn't stop. "We've been waiting. So long waiting. You forgot, but we didn't. This is your home." They reached the bottom. The basement wasn't a room, it was a forest. A perfect replica of the woods they'd walked through, but underground. Moonlight filtered through invisible trees. A breeze whispered, and in the center stood a woman. She wore a dress made of tattered lace. Her skin was gray, her hair tangled and flowing like smoke. Her face was blank, no eyes, no mouth, no nose. Yet they both heard her speak. "You took the wrong path. This place is for the forgotten, the lost. You'll stay until someone else finds the arrow." She raised her hand, and the forest floor opened. Roots curled around their feet. Sam and Eli screamed, pulling free, scrambling back up the stairs as the floor collapsed behind them. The house warped with every step they took, walls folding in, staircases vanishing. It was like running through a nightmare that rearranged itself every second. They found the front door again, open now, swaying. Without thinking, they jumped through it, crashing to the dirt outside. The house behind them shuddered, the porch collapsing inward like lungs deflating. And then, it was gone. Nothing but trees. They ran until their legs gave out. When they reached the main trail, the arrow sign was gone too. In its place was a blank tree. No markings, just bark and silence. They hiked out the next morning in complete silence. Neither spoke until they were miles from the woods. Back home, Sam developed the camera film manually just in case. There were no photos of the house. But in one shot, the final one before the camera corrupted, Eli could be seen in the frame. Only behind him, in the distance, was the house again, half visible through the trees, and someone standing on the porch. Only it wasn't the woman this time. It was Sam. Not every wrong turn leads to a dead end. Some take you to places that watch, that wait, that remember. And if you ever see a trail marked only by a crooked wooden arrow, no matter how curious you are, don't follow it. Because some houses aren't built to be lived in. They're built to trap. Story 3. They told us to never stop in Black Hollow. There are some towns you won't find on any map. Places that seem to exist in the cracks between counties, tucked in folds of fog and forgotten memories. One night, Jordan and Maya were driving through rural Virginia on their way to a mountain wedding. When their GPS rerouted them due to an accident, they ended up in a place called Black Hollow. A town neither of them had ever heard of. They would soon learn, no one leaves Black Hollow unless it lets you. The sun had already set when the detour appeared. Jordan groaned. "Of course. The one night we leave late, and we hit roadblocks." "GPS says this side route reconnects in 40 minutes, Maya said, yawning. "You okay to drive?" "I'm fine," Jordan lied. His eyelids felt like sandpaper. They turned down the unfamiliar road. No streetlights. No cars. Only forest pressing in from both sides. The pavement narrowed and cracked, branches scraping the roof of their car. After 30 minutes, Maya frowned at the screen. "That's weird." "What?" "It says we're in Black Hollow. Ever heard of that?" Jordan shook his head. "No. Sounds like a ghost town." They laughed, but only briefly. The trees suddenly parted, and a town emerged from the mist. A main street with flickering yellow lights. Old-style storefronts. A rusted gas station with one pump. A diner with open, blinking in blood-red neon. Not a single person in sight. "Let's just drive through," Maya said quickly. But as they passed the town square, the car began to sputter. Then silence. Jordan swore under his breath. "You've got to be kidding me." The engine was dead. Lights too. Maya tried her phone. No bars. Not even Wi-Fi. Jordan popped the hood. Nothing seemed out of place. Fuel gauge showed half a tank. "Okay," he muttered. "I'll go ask at the gas station. Maybe they've got a mechanic." Maya didn't want to be alone, so she followed. The bell above the gas station door jingled, but no one was inside. Dust coated everything. Shelves lined with faded candy bars and cans of beans decades past their expiration. Behind the counter sat a rotary phone. No cell tower, no register. Jordan picked up the phone. There was a dial tone. He looked at Maya. "I think this is one of those preserved towns, like a museum. Maybe that's why it's not on GPS." "Then where's the staff?" The bell rang again, but they hadn't moved. They turned. A man stood in the doorway. Tall, dressed in black slacks, white shirt, and suspenders. His skin looked wrong, paper-thin, like something stretched too tight. He had no eyebrows. His eyes were black marbles. "You broke down," he said, voice flat. Jordan cleared his throat. "Yeah, you got a mechanic or tow service?" "There's a place," the man said, not blinking. "Down the street, next to the church." They thanked him and left in a hurry. As they walked, Maya whispered, "Did you notice his eyes?" Jordan nodded. "Let's just get out of here." They passed more shops, barber, bakery, antique store. All lit, all empty. Then they reached the church. A white steeple towered into the night sky. But it was the sign that stopped them cold. "Service at midnight. All souls welcome. No exceptions." It was 11:56 p.m. The door to the mechanic shop beside the church creaked open. Inside, tools were laid out perfectly. Clean floors. No dust. But no one was there. "Jordan," Maya whispered. "Look." A row of Polaroids lined the wall. Photos of people, hundreds, all standing in front of their cars, smiling. But every car had the same background. The gas station, the diner, the church, all in Black Hollow. Some photos were dated. The oldest from 1951. The newest was blank, undated. And below it, pinned with a red thumbtack, was a post-it note. To Jordan and Maya. Arrived 11:27 p.m. Jordan backed away. "We need to go. Now." They ran back to the car. It was gone. Not stolen. Just gone. Like it had never been there. Only 2 indentations in the gravel remained, as if something had sunk. Maya began to cry. "This isn't real. This can't be real." Then the church bell rang. 12 deep, echoing chimes. Midnight. The town lit up all at once. Shadows moved behind storefront windows. Figures, dozens of them, emerged from alleys and doorways. Men and women in old-time clothes. All pale, all expressionless. They converged in silence around the church. One by one, they turned to look at Jordan and Maya. Then they smiled. "Run!" Jordan screamed. They bolted down the road, feet pounding against pavement, lungs burning. The townsfolk didn't chase. They just stood, watching. But the town didn't end. They passed the diner again, then the gas station, then the church. They were looping. "We're stuck," Maya sobbed. Like rats in a maze. They ducked into the antique store, barricading the door. Jordan grabbed a lamp, smashing it to create a weapon. In the corner of the store stood a child-sized mannequin. As they breathed in silence, it turned its head slowly toward them. Then spoke. "You came at the wrong time." Maya screamed. The mannequin's glass eyes sparkled. "Black Hollow only lets you leave if you bring another. One soul for another." Jordan's face drained of color. "What? Invite someone here. Then you may go. Or stay forever." The mannequin returned to stillness. They spent the night hiding in an attic crawlspace. In the morning, the town was empty again. Silent. The sun never rose. Just gray light. They wandered for days. On the 5th day, they found their car, parked neatly in front of the church. Keys in the ignition. Fuel full. But it only turned on after Maya whispered, "I'll do it." They drove. The moment they passed the town line, their phones buzzed. Signals returned. Time moved again. The sun rose like nothing happened. They never spoke of what they saw. Weeks later, Maya received a text from an unknown number. "Heard about a town called Black Hollow? Looks cool. Sending GPS now." She stared at the screen, trembling. Jordan looked over her shoulder. "Don't." Maya deleted the message. But that night, she found a note tucked under her windshield wiper. "You must bring another. The town remembers. Some places don't want to be found. Others need to be. If you're ever lost and your GPS reroutes you through a town you've never heard of, think twice before entering. Especially if that town is called Black Hollow, because it might be waiting for you to take someone's place." and it never forgets a broken promise. Story 4. The silence past mile marker 84. Have you ever driven a road so empty, so hauntingly still, that you wondered if you had somehow slipped into a different reality? One where time moves slower, and the silence feels wrong. One late October night, a nurse named Rebecca took a detour down a remote road to avoid traffic. Her GPS warned her it wasn't mapped, but she was tired, just wanted to get home. She never did. Rebecca had just finished a double shift at the regional hospital. Her feet throbbed, her eyes stung from fluorescent lights. She wanted nothing more than a hot shower and silence. When her navigation app suggested a back route that shaved 40 minutes off the drive, she didn't hesitate. That was her first mistake. It started as a two-lane highway, straight and barren. The sun had long set, and all around her, the world was draped in night. Beyond the road, thick woods stretched endlessly, and the full moon lit everything in cold silver. The only landmark she passed was a worn-out green sign, mile 84. The paint was faded, nearly erased by time. Then silence. No engine hum. No tires on gravel. No wind. Even her breathing sounded distant, muffled, like she'd sunk underwater. Rebecca slowed, checked her dashboard. Everything seemed normal, except the clock had stopped. 9:17 p.m. It had said that 15 minutes ago. She glanced in the rearview mirror. The road behind her was gone. Not darkness. Just nothing. Like the world had been erased in her wake. There were no stars back there. No moon. Just an endless black that didn't reflect her taillights. Heart thudding, she pressed harder on the gas. The trees on either side swayed violently, though there was no wind. Shapes seemed to twist between the trunks, too large to be animals, too fast to be human. Then up ahead, she saw it, a house. A single-story farmhouse, white paint peeling, all windows dark. A mailbox leaned at an angle beside a gravel driveway. There were no lights, no cars, but smoke trickled from the chimney like something, or someone was home. Rebecca didn't want to stop. She did anyway. She told herself it was to ask for directions, or maybe to find out if she was having a breakdown. But deep down, she knew it was something else. Something pulled her. Like gravity. She walked to the door and knocked. No answer. She knocked again, harder this time. Still nothing. But the door creaked open on its own. Inside, the house looked lived in. A fire crackled in the stone hearth. A kettle hissed on the stove. Old pictures lined the walls, sepia-toned photos of a family from another century. No electricity, just oil lamps casting amber light. She called out, "Hello? I think I'm lost." Footsteps echoed from upstairs. Slow, deliberate. She waited. Then a voice. Faint, raspy, like someone speaking through a wall of water. "You came back." Rebecca froze. "Excuse me?" The steps creaked closer. "You always come back. You always forget. But the road doesn't." A figure appeared at the top of the stairs. An old woman in a tattered nightgown, her hair wild and matted. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark, milky white like she hadn't blinked in decades. "I never forget a soul that crosses mile 84, she whispered. Rebecca backed up, stumbling out the door. She turned to run to her car, only it wasn't there. No driveway, no car, just an empty field of dead grass where it had been. Panicking, she turned in circles. The road was gone. The house was now the only thing in existence. She turned back, and the woman was standing right behind her. The road's not a shortcut. It's a snare, a place where time folds and memory slips. It takes those who try to skip ahead. "I didn't know," Rebecca gasped. "I just followed the GPS. No one finds this road unless they're already half lost." Rebecca ran, but there was nowhere to go. The trees closed in. The world behind her vanished into gray fog. No birds, no stars, just branches reaching like fingers. She wandered for what felt like hours, maybe days. She stopped feeling hungry, stopped feeling tired. The only constant was the mile marker. Mile 84. No matter how far she walked, it appeared again. Over and over. She once scratched her name into it. But the next time she saw it, the scratch was gone. Time dissolved. She began seeing others. Shadowy shapes along the tree line. People who looked confused. Dressed in clothes from every era, 1900s, 1950s, a man in an 80s jogging suit, a child with a Walkman. They stared with hollow expressions. Trapped. None of them spoke. Eventually she stopped, sat by the sign, and whispered to herself. "I just wanted to get home." That's when the woman appeared again, standing in the road. "There is no home. Not anymore." Rebecca stood, rage boiling beneath the fear. Why? Why does this place exist? The woman smiled, sadly, almost with pity. Because people like you forget to be present. Always looking for the shortcut. Always rushing forward without seeing what you leave behind. This road was built for you. Then she turned and walked back into the fog. Rebecca tried to chase her, but the fog swallowed her up. Rebecca was alone again. She doesn't know how long she's been there now. Maybe years, maybe an hour. But every once in a while, she hears tires, sees headlights breaking through the mist. Someone new. Someone who didn't listen to their GPS, someone who saw mile marker 84 and thought it was just a number. She always runs to them, tries to scream, tries to wave them off, but no one ever hears her. So if you're ever driving late at night and you find yourself on a road that feels a little too quiet, where the stars vanish and your clock stops ticking, don't keep going. Especially if you see mile marker 84, because by then, it might already be too late.